Good evening again, folks. This is our Twitter Talk episode. Again, I am honored to be joined with Evan Witalison, my co-host for the Light Sports Ramble on Thursday night. And Evan, our Twitter Talk, we talked about it before. We're going to talk about the Randall Cobb hit. Was it a dirty hit? Was it intentional? Did that defensive back go out to hurt Randall Cobb? Which will lead us into a question from one of our loyal listeners that wanted to know, is the NFL getting excessive with their fines? And then another question, we actually had some involvement this week, which makes me pretty happy. We had another question came in, who will be the first team to beat the Broncos? So with that said, we don't have a lot of time to sit here and chit-chat. We've got to get in so we stay under time. But I'm going to turn it over to you. That hit on Randall Cobb, I mean, I've heard both sides of it. But do you think it was a dirty hit?
No, I don't. I don't think it was a dirty hit at all. I think it was a hit that the defensive back went low, and that's the defensive backs are taught. They're taught to go low. They're taught to take out the legs of the running back. Obviously, not necessarily in the manner that he did, but the way the NFL is evolving nowadays. Roger Goodell, I believe, would rather have somebody injuring a leg than he would any potential head injury. And, with that being, with the fines that you're talking about being dished out for higher hits and the penalties being thrown for higher hits, what are defensive backs supposed to do? You're basically, and now there's talk that the competition committee is going to be looking into those hits in the offseason to see if they should start banning those type of tackles. And if that's the case, what are you going to do? You can't hit high. You can't hit low. Where are you supposed to touch a guy? If you hit them too high, penalty. Hit them too low, penalty. And it's just, it's starting to become what are you going to start allowing? And I don't think the hit was dirty. I think he, made the best tackle he thought he could possibly make. I tend to not think that he went into it thinking, okay, it's time to take Randall Cobb out. So I don't think it was dirty. I don't think there was that intent there at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it was intentional. I watched it a couple times. I agree with you 100%. These defensive backs are almost put in a cage now. I mean, to be honest, Evan, the competition committee is going to say, yeah, we're going to look at the low hits because we already talked about the high hits. I mean, it's going to turn into flag football. I want to see hitting. I want to see a guy get hit. I mean, where are they going to be able to hit somebody? I mean, in the thigh, that's it? These guys are too powerful, Evan, for them not to lead with the helmet anymore. And that's, if the NFL is going to look at it, the NFL is a product of their own enemy right now because of what they've done. They've forced defensive backs to do this. And so that's the way they're tackling now.
Yeah, they are. And just to kind of touch base a little bit too, I keep at my Twitter handle. I intern for Sports Radio 1250 on WSSP, and I was listening to their show on Monday, and they have a couple former Packers in there. One of them being former running back Gary Ellison, and he was saying how he would prefer when people were to tackle him, he would prefer them go higher instead of going after the legs, because when you go high like that. When you go high, you can defend yourself. You can defend yourself. You can brace yourself for the hit. And if you go, for the legs, they can't defend themselves from that. And with the way the NFL is going, they're almost trying to force you to go low. And that's basically the product of what you saw Sunday with Elam, and that's what you saw in the preseason when Dustin Keller blew on his leg.
I am right there with you, and you just made me get off my thought topic for what you were saying. That's a great point. The players cannot defend themselves if somebody goes low. If you watch the Randall Cobb play, the way his legs were when that hit came, it looked like he was trying even a little hop, a little jump, because of where he got hit. Had that defensive back went high on Cobb, maybe he gets tackled, maybe he sheds the tackler. But it looked to me like Cobb was actually trying to do something in a preventative way, and it still caused an injury. Because if you go helmet to leg, it's going to hurt somewhere. Either a blown out knee, a broken leg like we just saw. There's nothing you can do there. I mean, I'm not saying that the defensive back should lead with the helmet because they're going to give themselves a concussion when they get a knee to the head. And so really it's a no-win situation, but at the end of the day, they've got to tackle the guy.
Yeah, and one comment I do have to make for my fellow Packer fans that are bashing Elam, getting on his case and everything. It wasn't too long ago that Al Harris was still playing with the Packers. He hit Adrian Peterson on the side of the knee, and Adrian Peterson had to miss a couple weeks of the sprained knee. It's like that you applaud, but Randall Cobb's injury, which both unfortunately both injuries happened, but Randall Cobb is getting all up in arms about it. If the same thing would have happened to their guy, I'm fairly certain their opinion would have been different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-win situation right now, and, we just have to look at it, and that brings us to the question about the fines. I mean, we had one of our listeners that brought it up. We brought it up about the fines, and I actually went through and I printed off all of the fines. And, you and I went through it, and we know that their fines are coming, but maybe some of our listeners don't really understand this, that not only is there fines on the field, there's uniform fines, but some of these fines, like a chop block, you can get fined for that. A low block, you can get fined for that. Roughing the passer, if you get flagged for roughing the passer, you're subject to fine. You also can get leg whips.
Don't they penalize them on the field for that stuff?
They penalize them on the field, but they're also subject, if they get called for that penalty, they are subject to a league fine. And the first offense fine ranges, I'm looking at it right now, ranges anywhere from $7,500 up to $20,000 for a first offense. The second offense doubles. And so I don't even know if we're hearing about half of these fines that get levied because face mask is in there. So if I go out in a game and I'm playing against you, Evan, and I get called for a face mask, I am subject to review to get fined by the league office for face masking.
Yeah, that is absolutely ridiculous. The NFL Network, I think it was Tuesday morning, on their NFL AM, they kind of went into behind the scenes on how the NFL, does those, how they review everything, and it was quite interesting to watch. I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, it is ridiculous that they can get fined for all those things. It's like, if you're penalizing them on the field, why are you then, fining them after the fact? It's ridiculous, and it's, the things that they're being fined for, like Brandon Marshall got fined for wearing green shoes to raise awareness for mental illness. And the question I have is, where do those fines go? Like, when they get fined, who gets that money?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
The NBA donates it to charity, but what does the NFL do with it?
Yeah, I'd like to know. Maybe you and I should do some investigative reporting and find out, because I was surprised myself when I looked at this list of fines. It's ridiculous. It really is, and I mean, I understand the fighting and I understand the unnecessary roughness penalties, but I'm looking at these. A chop block, okay, it can be a bad call, right? But I think there's chop blocks in every game. So you're meeting.
If they call it on the field, why fine them?
Exactly, and so all of a sudden I'm out $7,500, and I'm just playing a football game. I don't think, and you can correct me if you think different, but I don't think if I go face mask somebody that it's going to change the way I play next game. I may go out and face mask again because I'm playing hard and I'm trying to tackle the guy.
Yeah, majority of face masks, I think, are, granted, some look worse than others. I think the majority of face masks are accidental, especially when you have, like, a wide receiver or running back that's, doing some dancing around and ducks his head. You're going in to wrap them up, they move, and you happen to grab the face mask,
Yeah, and some of...
I think most face masks are accidental. I don't think they're intentional.
No, they just look a lot worse than they really are because of what you said. The running back or the player is trying to not get a face mask. He doesn't want his face mask ripped off.
Yeah.
He's trying to turn and he's trying to make a move because he doesn't want to get tackled. And it looks a lot worse than it really is. And so, the listener was Mark, and he's I would consider him a friend. and he threw that out. I agree.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I think that the NFL is excessive on their fines, and I don't think it's making a difference as far as stopping dirty play. I mean, if a guy's dirty, to me, the guy's going to be dirty. I don't think a fine is going to make him change the way he plays. And right there with that, Dominican Sue, look how much he's been fined. Does it change the way he plays the game?
Nope.
No, it does not. So I understand you've got a fine system in place, but come on now. Let's
The play he got fined for on Sunday was ridiculous. Like Sue hit the quarterback in the chest. Like that's how is Sue supposed to hit a guy now? You can't hit him high, you can't hit him low. You're gonna penalize him and fine him. He wasn't even penalized in the game.
Exactly.
The NFL did. The refs did not throw a flag. It was not roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Why are you then fining him for what to me looked like a clean hit? It was just like, I brought this up in the pre-show with Nick Perry when he got a sack on Andrew Luck. They threw a flag on it. He ended up getting fined for what? He hit him in the chest.
Yeah.
He wanted to get hit.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know where they're going with all this, and I like the hard hitting. I mean, football players sign up to get hit and hit people. I mean, that's football to me. So I understand if you're trying to clean up the dirty play. I understand that. But it's so
Trying to eliminate the hits high to the head. I get that, too.
Yeah, I get it. The injury thing, I get it. But come on, we've got to look at it from the standpoint, at some point, we've got to draw the line. And especially with fining guys. I mean, if you've got a problem with it, then make it something. If it's totally dirty, then eliminate it and make somebody an example. But just to levy out these fines, just to levy out a fine, I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, and if you are fining them, say what make it fine them for a good cause like the NBA does. The fine gets donated.
Yeah. So with that said, I think you and I could ramble about that. I'm just looking at the time, little bit over 12 minutes, and I want to touch on the last topic that we got tweeted to us. I'm excited. I thank the listeners this week, Evan. They gave us some good topics to talk about.
I was happy to hear that.
Yeah, it was great. And so the last question they had was, who do we think will be the first loss for the Broncos? So I'm going to let you take over on that one.
Well, for me, I think the Broncos lose on Sunday. I think the Colts are going to go in Indianapolis. I think that, Manning obviously going to be fired up, but I think the Colts are going to go in. I think the Colts are going to pull up the upset. I think it's going to be this week.
Well, and I'll tell you, I am on the fence. And if you've ever listened to the upset special on Friday, I have to have my picks in before the first game on the week, which is tonight. And I haven't made the pick yet. I don't know if I'm going with the Colts. I don't know if I'm going with the Broncos. I like what the Colts bring offensively to be able to beat that Bronco D because I think there's holes in the Bronco defense. The only thing I'm not sure about is defensively, will the Colts have enough? But if it's not tonight, Evan, if the Broncos win, I think the next loss opportunity is the Chiefs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think the Chiefs, you look at what they do offensively, they protect the football, don't turn it over. Defensively, they get pressure on the quarterback, and they keep pressure on the wide receivers on the outside. And the Chiefs get pressure where you need to get pressure to defeat Peyton Manning. They get pressure up the middle. That most tackle they have is very good. Like most people beginning of last year thinking, he's going to be a bust. Here goes the Chiefs again, drafting a defensive lineman high that's going to end up being a bust. But he's having a very good year, and he's up there as some of the best most tackles in the league. And he gets that push up the middle that Manning's going to be uncomfortable having to step up in the pocket. Yeah,
you and I talked about that in the pre-ramble. Manning is comfortable in the pocket. He loves to step up, find the throwing lane, and the Chiefs will disrupt that. And if you force him to his left, force him to his right, the bump coverage that the Chiefs play will distract that. And you and I are in agreement that could be the loss. And so maybe it's even 2 losses. Maybe it's 3 losses for these Broncos. Who knows? But with that said, Evan, I've got to wrap it up. We're pushing on 15 minutes. As always, I love having you on the show. And so for all our fans, we'll talk to you next Thursday. Enjoy the night, everyone.